Hi, and welcome to today's video. Is Misha Ashling, is Moonshore Gael Gamay, and together we're going to go through the Oisín and dTír na nÓg question from 2016's paper. We're going to look at what the student did really well, what they could have done a little better on, and how you can improve your own answers. So let's get right into it. Here's a sample answer available to you on the StudyClick site. If you want to read along while we go through this, you're very welcome to. Here is an Cheist, an interesting one in that it's a 3-part question, but you are to tackle 2 sections of it, as we'll see here. So we've got Cuide Hain an Léirú Aimid Oisín mar Gcoinne Grábhar Dílis sa Scéal. So of course our essential parts of this question will be talking about Oisín mar Gcoinne Grábhar Dílis. So you're dealing with the character of Oisín and the fact that he is both Grábhar and Dílis. Ceiste dó, you've got an Fort a Glacin Porric Néfa sa Scéal. And you need Gá Fuinche Olaus there. About Porric Néfa specifically. Then Cuide Trí, you've got Gá Hamplad an Áféil sa Scéal agus Play Garage. So you need 2 examples of instances of Áféil and you need to discuss them both. So you choose whichever 2 appeal to you best and you get going on it as soon as possible. Do not spend too long trying to debate which question will suit you best on the day. Pick your favourite 2, go for it. In the marking scheme, they outline you've 2 to answer, but the examiner is going to read them both, mark your best response out of 13 and the other one out of 12. Also important to us is that you need to write the title of the piece accurately. This is very important as it's in the question, and if you don't write it down accurately, it makes it quite clear that you're not really paying the most attention to this question. Now, for the actual writing of the question, you need to do 2 answers, but I have this 3 with the question mark because you could chance a 3rd if you have extra time. If you're sitting at the end of the exam and you're thinking to yourself, I have a few minutes, I could tackle the 3rd. Who knows? The 3rd may turn out to be your best answer. The examiner has to have a look at all your attempts anyway. So if you have the time and you have the information, why not get it done? And 3-4 points would be the max. If the question asks you for 2 points, you write 2 points. So about 1.5 pages in total should do you just fine. And tágairtí, it is so important to refer back to your text. So reference everything. Do not make points that aren't backed up. Now on Fragra Féin, looking at Ceiste Hain, the student decided to tackle an Léirú Aimid Oisín mar Gcoinne Grábhar Dílis sa Scéal. Now instantly you'll see that there's a Fragra Loihruk on this question. The examiner can see the person is answering it immediately, they're setting out their stall, and it'll help the student to stay focused throughout, having a little sentence like that to tie your whole answer together. The use of the Bríthir Saor is great here because it both shows the examiner that you have a strong grasp of the technical elements of the language, as well as the fact that this story has no clear author, given it was handed down generation to generation to generation, so we don't know who the author is. So a Bríthir Saor is perfectly appropriate here. Then tágairtí don takes. There are loads of references to events in the text throughout this answer, showing that the student studied extensively and knows exactly what they're talking about, isn't making points that are unsubstantial or not backed up by fact. However, it is a little bit long. There isn't any need to keep writing it. It continues on here. It's just quite a long answer and there's not really any need for it. The keywords of Grábhar and Dílis are evident throughout, which is great, and it shows the answer is really focused. But then we have a strange sentence and it says Bhí sé dílis don gheasa. You cannot be loyal to a spell. That doesn't make any sense. A spell indicates a lack of choices. So you cannot be loyal to something that you had no choice in the first place. That's just strange phrasing. Be careful of it. Lagan amach. So the answer is not chronological to the text, and it's not an essential thing by any means, but it's easier to read, easier to follow, easier for you to write if you stayed chronological through the story. So the narrative going through your answer as well. Then the student decided to tackle Áféil. Really strong start, starting with Bhí na himachtaí sa scéal béilide seo ar fad ábhéalach agus docreite, indicating immediately the student understands exactly what Áféil means and where they spotted it throughout the story. Lovely phrase in Ach áit a war is saoilíocht an duine. Lovely turn of phrase, really pretty. There isn't any mention of béileages apart from in the first sentence. An áféil and your driocht, they are all traits of béileages. And this person clearly knows that, but doesn't mention it. And it is definitely worthwhile to mention. Really strong points throughout. Strong reference to áféil throughout, which is great. Tágairtí don takes, there are loads of reference again to the events of the story, which really adds to the credibility of this answer. And then the conclusion is really strong. It summarizes all the points this student has made, wraps up their answer nicely in a little bow. However, we're looking at driocht agus áféil sa scéal. They're talking about that tír na nóg is an áit driochtúil, which it is. And then in the next paragraph, they jump to bhí driocht ag buint le tír na nóg comá. But they were talking about tír na nóg this whole time. So there's no need for a comma here. You're not talking about something different, you're talking about the same thing. So a comma doesn't make sense there. You only need 2 examples, and this person has given a few too many. It is just a little bit long, needlessly so, when you've quite a bit to do on paper 2. So I wouldn't have written for quite so long here. Then this sentence is strange. Conas a nairitar sean agus dal ag seasamh halamh na hÉireann. It seems as though the student is trying to be funny, being like, oh, but sure, how could you feel old or blind or miserable on the ground of Ireland? Just a strange thing to do in this question. There's places for humour in the Irish exam, particularly in the oral exam, in the essay, but not here. I wouldn't have done it. Finally, our focal scar. Rawa. So what's important here is that you choose the right question. You have options here. Whichever topic you know most about or feel most comfortable discussing, go for that one. But if you have the time, consider tackling the third if you are able to do it. Ola's Crean. It is so important that if you are referencing the text that you do so accurately. And finally, Annalise. We are not looking for a summary of the story. I'm going to guarantee you your examiner knows the story very, very well. What they're looking for here is analysis and clear understanding of what is happening in the text. If you want to see an annotated PDF of this PowerPoint, you may do so on the StudyClick site. Bye for now.